What's up airsofters, and welcome back to the channel. Although we're now in 2022, I wanted to put together a video as a bit of a guide to the airsoft sites I visited last year in 2021 and what my impressions of them have been. In total, I visited 5 different sites over the past 12 months, and in this video I'll be touching on subjects such as the facilities they offer, the variety of game modes, and how good the marshalling was. Let's crack on and dive into the first ever airsoft site I visited, NPF Bassett's Pole, which is situated just outside of Sutton Coldfield. Bassett's Pole is a multi-sport venue offering activities that range from axe throwing to paintball, alongside their regular airsoft skirmishes. Parking at the site is a doddle, as the airsoft side of the venue has a large field where there's ample parking for all. This also gives visitors the option to stage from your car, which is what I tend to do. However, during the wetter months, parking on the field is restricted, and instead parking is along the gravel track leading up to the site entrance, but either way it's a relatively short walk to the main base camp. The base camp itself has plenty of table space, mostly undercover too, which is great if the weather conditions aren't the best. There is a small shop stocking some of the basics such as ammo, single-use grenades and some gear. They sometimes also have used gear for sale. Due to COVID, they're not currently offering hot food, but there's a local McDonald's just a few minutes drive away, but I tend to take my own lunch. They have a number of lockers, some of which have 3-pin sockets in for charging up your batteries and gear free of charge, and also offer free tea and coffee, as well as free HPA refills. These are all great touches that a lot of other sites fail to offer. There is no dedicated toilet block, but instead they have 3 portaloos just outside the main base camp. They're portaloos at the end of the day, so you're not expecting them to be clean as clean, so just be aware of this when going. Rental packages are on offer, which consist of an all-in-one camo jumpsuit, a full face mask, a plate carrier with mag pouches, a couple of magazines, and a few thousand BBs. You'll also get a Vulcan battle machine rifle, which is what I used for the first few visits to the site before I could buy my own, and found it to be perfectly fine. It's decent rental gear and reasonably priced too. I won't quote prices here as their prices are subject to change, but let's just say they're on par with other UK sites. They're also a UKARA registered venue, which is where I completed my UKARA visits, which is also a nice touch. A yearly membership is also on offer, costing £30 for a year. Benefits of this include a £5 discount on game days, as well as covering your UKARA registration fee, so worth looking into if you plan on visiting this site a number of times. Getting into the games, they split the day into 2 2-hour sessions, with each session containing 2 1-hour objectives. After the briefing, you're split into 2 teams and given either a blue or yellow armband. Then we move into the game zone to start games around 10 AM. We're briefed in our separate respawns of the 2 objectives for the morning session, usually ranging from retrieval of a certain item such as medikits or sacks, or stopping the enemy team from getting a certain MacGuffin to an area of the map. Alongside these objectives, there are also up to 5 contested flags on the map, giving options to each player as to how they want to spend their game time. You're free to come and go throughout the games, and it really brings into play ammo management. Being out for 2 hours at a time, something which if you have an itchy trigger finger like myself can be an issue. Unlike some other sites I've visited this year, there are no team balancer game, and the teams are selected by an equal split of where the people are stood during the briefing. Rental players are then evenly split across the 2 sides. Now, this has proven to be a problem on a few occasions. On one visit, the first games have gotten underway and it's been obvious early on that the teams were unbalanced. If you've seen my gameplay video taken at this site, I'll stick a link to it up in the top right corner of this video, then you'll know what I mean. In a nutshell, about 15 minutes into the first objective, we had totally pinned the enemy team into their own respawn zone. We were dominating them so much that they couldn't move more than 10 paces outside of their starting area without being taken out. The issue here was the marshals didn't jump on this to help rebalance the sides quick enough. Pushing our team back up the map, for example, would have enabled the other team to venture out of their starting zone and take a foothold in the map, or alternatively take a handful of our team and swap them with the other side. On the whole, the marshalling at this site has been good, however it's isolated incidents like this that do make you wish they'd moved a bit quicker to balance the teams to make it more enjoyable for both sides. They usually have 1 or 2 people wandering around with a camera, so you can check out their Airsoft Facebook page after your day to see if you've been papped. As a venue itself, they offer a great woodland setting with areas ideal for snipers, as well as a custom built CQB zone for getting up in people's business. The site changes throughout the year too. Come in the summer and there'll be lush ferns and dense undergrowth to crawl through, where visiting in the winter months offers a totally different experience with more exposed terrain. To summarise, NPF Bassetts Pole is a good woodland venue with varied terrain and zones. It's great for newcomers, however an injection of new game modes and keeping a close eye on the fairness of the teams would help elevate this site. Because of this, I'm rating this site as a 7 out of 10. Up next is one of the many sites run by Rift Airsoft, that being Comms 3, situated in Chipping Warden near Banbury, and is exclusively an airsoft only site. Since my visit to Comms 3 back in May of 2021, unfortunately HS2 has rolled in, and as a result the main staging area and part of the map has been taken by them. With this in mind, this review is based on my visit before these changes, and I will be releasing an updated version on the site when I return to them again next month. My visit to Comms 3 coincided with one of their weekend events, where they have game days on both the Saturday and Sunday, with people able to camp over on the Saturday night free of charge. When we arrived, parking was a bit tight and based mostly on the fields surrounding the main safe zone. There wasn't a dedicated staging area, instead with people staging from the back of their cars. There was a small shop and an on-site technician, and the toilet facilities consisted of a couple of portaloos. As far as I could tell, they don't offer HPA refills on site, so it's worth bearing this in mind. They offer a hire package, however this is limited to a high quality assault rifle, 3,000 rounds of ammo, 2 high cap magazines and a face mask. Like Bassett's Pole as well, they also offer a yearly membership for £25. With this you get £5 off game days, a Rift Velcro patch. It also offers priority booking for Rift events and access to a private members only forum, but as well as that, 10% discount off purchases on the Only Airsoft website. So all in all, it's a great package and one I've since taken out for myself. The day is split into a number of shorter games, usually around 45 minutes to an hour, returning to the safe zone between games to reload before heading back out for instructions on the next mission. You have to be quick between games to reload and regather, and there were a couple of times where we were waiting on a few stragglers to get back to the game area ready for the next objective. Game briefings were very detailed, and depending on who's given the briefing, it's usually best to find a nice comfy spot to sit down at. Frequent visitors to the Rift sites will know what I mean here. The game modes themselves are varied and interesting, and not 2 games feel the same. Go check out my video on the land grab game mode if you haven't yet. I'll stick a link up to this in the top right hand corner of this video. I've also seen footage of a Juggernaut game mode here, which looks like a lot of fun. The actual game area is mostly woodland, with a large grassland field area which is the sniper's paradise. Unfortunately though, this area has since been claimed by HS2. There are also a number of brick built buildings offering a good mix of CQB as well as outdoor combat. Marshalling of the site was top draw, and they're always quick to stamp out any incidents of cheating that arose. There are a decent number of marshals for the game area size, so they managed to cover the area well, so very little goes unnoticed. They'll also usually have people wandering around with a camera, and I've been papped many times. In summary, Comms 3 is a very well run and marshalled site with a great variation of woodland, open area and CQB combat with many varied game types. It's not the largest site I've visited, however I personally prefer maps with a smaller element to them so that combat feels more fast paced and intense. On-site facilities were a little lacking, however of course this is all pre-HS2. For those reasons I'm giving Comms 3 a 7 out of 10. The next site up is Skirmish Central, one of many paintball and airsoft sites across the UK run by Skirmish, with this one being based near Bedford. Unfortunately, my day here did not start as well as I'd hoped. I'd contacted the site prior to arriving to ask what time the gates would be open, to ensure we arrived with plenty of time to get kitted up and ready for the briefing. However, we were given an incorrect time, and when we pulled up it was clear that everyone had been there for about an hour already and was pretty much geared up and stood around waiting for the briefing. This led to the most chaotic gearing up session I've ever had. What made it even more stressful was the fact that I had 2 guest players with me, so I also had to help them get geared up as well. This started our day off on the back foot, not to mention the fact that the base camp is about 5 minutes walk up a very thin and muddy dirt track from the car park, which was quite eventful when you're carrying as much gear as we were. My advice would be to travel light and only take what you absolutely need. You can keep additional items in your car, which you can then pop back to at lunchtime, but it becomes a bit of a drag, no pun intended, when you've got to shift all your gear up to the base camp. Also, get there early, as there are only a limited number of tables, especially those under cover, so we ended up having to stage from the wet ground. The base camp itself is a small compact area with a basic shop where you sign in and register, as well as being able to buy some of the basics. More importantly though, is the fact that they have a purpose-built brick toilet block. After only visiting sites with portaloos, you don't know how nice it was to see a proper loo. As with the other sites I'd visited, they offer a rental package to those who don't own their own gear, with a choice of different packages to choose from. A walk-on ticket using your own gear is currently £30, with the entry-level rental package being £50. For this, you'll get 3000 BBs, a choice of 2 rifles, a camo suit, battle pack and a face mask. There is no mention on their website about membership packages or if they're a UKARA registered venue, and I would say that they're mostly tailored towards paintballers. To start with, we were all split up into 4 teams, and there would be a couple of small team balancer games in order to make sure the teams are split evenly. This lasted around 15 minutes, and after we'd won our objective, our half of the group headed back to the base camp to wait for the other teams to finish. Unfortunately, again, I felt that communication around this wasn't the best, as we ended up standing around for about 25 to 30 minutes waiting for the other 2 teams to finish their team balancer and return to the base camp, without really knowing or being told what was going on. Why they couldn't have just kept us out for another couple of games if the other teams were taking so long, I don't know. After everyone was back at the base camp, they paired up the 4 teams into 2 evenly split teams, and we headed out for our first actual games of the day. We were on the red team and we got paired up with the yellows against the blues and greens. This did make identifying your targets quite difficult, as you have to not only remember what colour your team was, but also what colour your friendly team was too, and I'm pretty sure there were a number of friendly fire incidents because of this. Now, up to this point, I wasn't overly impressed with the overall communication and setup of the site. Not helped by the miscommunication over our arrival time, putting us on the back foot with having to rush our morning prep. However, everything from now on out I couldn't fault, and very soon into our first game of the day, all the issues we had encountered disappeared and I was fully immersed in the fun and varied game modes. The games themselves were split up into several objectives lasting around 45 minutes to an hour, with us returning to base camp for a quick reload and turnaround between games. The modes themselves were varied and not the same game modes I've played in the past, and they included a mode where the defenders as a group have a set number of respawns while trying to hold off waves of enemy attacks, and when that pot of lives has run out, once shot, you're out of the game. The game area itself was mostly woods and grasslands, with a few props strewn around to match the game modes we were playing, such as an old Cessna aeroplane. There were no buildings for that CQB fix, however man-made barricades had been put in place in some of the more open areas of the map. Marshalling on the whole was good, and I can't think of many incidents of people not calling their hits. The marshals were friendly and chatty, and although there was only a few of them, they managed to cover the large game area well. I don't remember seeing anyone wandering around with a camera, however this may have just been a one-off, as I have seen some gameplay photos posted on their Facebook page. With how the day had started, I would not have predicted having as much fun at this site as we did, and it just goes to show that you shouldn't let any small thing ruin your day. This is a hard one to summarise. The miscommunication to start with immediately put us on the back foot with this site, however there's no getting away from the fun, varied game types and interesting terrain. It just felt different to other airsoft sites I'd visited. Proper toilets go a long way too, and it's for these reasons I'm giving Skirmish Central a 7 out of 10. Up next on my list is another site run by Rift Airsoft. This time it's Redcon 2, which is part of an active MOD site based in Abingdon. This is a massive site with around 70 acres of land to play on. It's a combination of undulating terrain, large open grassland areas, dense wooded parts, but also has several original buildings as well as a man-made CQB zone. Now when I say this is a massive site, I mean it really is. On my first visit there, I actually got lost trying to find the respawn, and it took me a good 20 minutes of walking around to arrive back at an area of the map I actually recognised. Because of the size and layout of the site, there were a number of active military vehicles in use, making up part of the game objectives. This was a fantastic addition to the day and really helped you get immersed into the action. Check out my gameplay video where we play a convoy protection mode which utilises the vehicles perfectly. As the site is located on an active MOD base, essentially in the middle of a field, the on-site facilities reflect this. There is no set base camp, so everyone stages from their cars, but there is more than enough room to do this and everyone is pretty close to the game zone. If you're going in winter months though, you may want to invest in a pop-up gazebo to keep yourself dry. There were the standard portaloos, and on the weekend we visited, they were running a Shift Your Riffs event, whereby you can bring your guns and gear to buy and sell with the other airsofters, as well as having a few supplier stands selling their products. They apparently offer hot food, however, as I always take my own lunch, I didn't get to check this out, and there is a small shop too where you can purchase drinks and snacks. Like with Comms 3, I didn't notice anyone offering HPA refills, so come prepared. They offer the same rental deals that you can get at their Comms 3 site mentioned earlier, and as it's a Rift site, the game fees are £30 for non-members and £25 if you are a member. Not only was the terrain more open, but because of the gigantic scale of the site and the fact that you're out for pretty much 2 hours non-stop, similar to how Bassett's Pole conducted their game days, I felt it gave more immersion into the day. Bringing the vehicles into really made the day more special, and the way they use a variation of the medic rule, where every player starts with 2 lives, helps deal with the logistics of getting around the site when you've been hit. There are multiple contested respawn zones scattered around the map, which also help, so you don't feel like you're spending most of your time walking to and from a respawn at the opposite end of the map. As always, the marshalling was top notch, what you come to expect from a Rift event, and I can't remember any instances where people were not calling hits or trying other ways to gain an unfair advantage. I don't remember being papped by any on-site photographer, however I have seen gameplay photos on their Facebook page, so it might have just been the fact that with how big the site was, I just didn't come across them on the day. Everyone was having a great time, and we were all working together in larger teams, as well as smaller 2 to 3 man squads, in order to win the objectives. Again, something that you don't always get at some of the other sites I've visited. To summarise, this is a massive site with enough varied terrain to fully immerse you into the day, with the added bonus of active vehicles which also double up as game objectives. However, as you're out for large chunks of the day and the site is big, prepare to go out with enough ammo and equipment to last you a good few hours. For this site, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. The final site I visited in 2021 was Warzone, based just outside Coventry. This site is very different from the other sites I've visited this year, with their main attraction being the purpose-built town, which makes up the majority of the game area. It was this unique setup that first attracted me to the site. It looked familiar to other places I'd seen other YouTube airsofters playing at, such as Dutch the Hooligan and Mallouda the Ghost. By the way, if you haven't already, go subscribe to Mallouda's YouTube channel and follow him on Instagram too. I'll pop links to both in the description below. Getting back to Warzone now, they offer both paintball and airsoft, as well as the usual parties and team building events. Getting to the site is quite a challenge, with the final couple of miles consisting of a farm track, which does actually run through the middle of a working farm, with the final stretch being on some of the worst roads I've ever been on. Both your car suspension and your spine will take some serious punishment on this road. Staging is done from inside their base camp, where there are ample tables for you to get kitted up. They also are fully covered to protect you from the elements. It's a small but well equipped base camp with a shop and reception on your way in, an on-site technician, as well as having a few second-hand goods for sale. There's free HPA refills available on the site and the best toilet facilities I've come across all year. Now it's worth saying I'm not obsessed with toilets, but when you've got upwards of 140 burly men using a handful of portaloos all day, having something a little bit more special and well put together is a blessing. Also, I imagine for the female airsofters, having something a bit nicer than what they're usually left with is a bonus, because let's face it, as blokes, we're not always the best when it comes to respecting a portaloo for other users. Rental gear is available and will set you back around £45. This covers the £30 walk-on fee and also provides you with a rental gun and iPro. I couldn't see anywhere on their website about being a UKARA registered site or offering a membership package, and I think they're more tailored towards paintballers. Games are split into a number of 40-minute objectives, either based around the small but long wooded area or the man-made town, which is out in the open. Game modes were good, and we especially liked Pushback and the casino heist. I visited this site a second time last year and we played different games to the first visit, so this is good for getting people to come back time and time again. We actually managed to get through a lot more games during the day than I thought we'd be able to. Perhaps this was a combination of the base camp being close to the game zone, or the fact that everyone was being super efficient with getting ready and briefed for the next game. It flowed really well. Of course, the main selling point of this site is the purpose-built town. This is made up with numerous single and two-storey structures with a couple of larger buildings which are used in few of the game objectives. There's also a nice large open field section with hay bales for cover, so the snipers are kept happy too. I love the feeling of going from building to building, clearing them, and also the sound of BBs pinging around above your head. It really gave you that sense that you're in the heat of battle. The marshals were great and engaging, and although I have encountered a couple of instances of blatant cheaters with people not calling their hits, for the most part everyone was playing fair and the marshals were on top of any incidents that arose. They do have a resident photographer and I got papped a few times, and I must say, as someone who enjoys photography myself as a hobby, he is by far the best game day photographer I've come across. I highly recommend checking out his site, and Warzone also put up regular game day photos on their Facebook page. I'll stick a link to his website in the description, so go check him out. To summarise, this is a unique site with a brilliant man-made village which offers something different to your usual woodland gameplay, with a compact but welcoming base camp and friendly, helpful marshals. I'm giving Warzone Coventry a 7 out of 10. Well, there we have it. A quick guide to the sites I visited in 2021, along with some of my thoughts and experiences. I hope you found this video helpful. I would highly recommend you go and check out all of these sites mentioned. They each offer something different. I'm looking to expand the places I visit in 2022, so leave a comment down below to any sites that you think I should try out, as well as sites that you visited that you have enjoyed, or even sites you feel people should avoid. If you're new around here, please also consider subscribing and hit that little bell icon to be notified when I drop new content. I'm starting up games again very soon, so I'll be dropping gameplay footage from that in the coming weeks. And I'll see you in the next one. Or stopping the enemy from getting a certain MacGuffin to an area that...